My child, pause here before the night carries you away. Do not let your eyes close yet. Do not move past this moment as though it were ordinary, because something has been waiting to reach you before sleep places silence between you and the world. What you are about to hear was meant to find you now, in this exact hour, when your heart is tired of pretending it does not feel what it feels. There is a message trembling beneath the surface of someone's silence. Your soulmate has been carrying words they could not speak when the moment was easier. They delayed. They hesitated. They convinced themselves there would be another chance, another evening, another open door. But tonight, something inside them has changed. A memory returned with such force that they could no longer hide behind distance, pride, uncertainty, or fear. And the words rising within them are these. Please read this before you fall asleep. I cannot lose you twice. Stay here, because the meaning behind those words is deeper than it first appears. This is not only about losing your presence. It is not only about separation, missed conversations, or time spent apart. They believe they already lost you once, even if you never fully disappeared from their life. They lost the version of you that once trusted them without hesitation. They lost the warmth you used to offer before disappointment taught you to protect it. They lost the open door they assumed would remain open forever. Now they are terrified that the final light is fading. Heaven has watched the moments you never spoke about. The nights you stared into the darkness and wondered whether your connection was real or whether you had imagined the depth of it. The days you acted strong while carrying unanswered questions. The quiet decisions you made to stop chasing clarity from someone who kept giving you confusion. You did not walk away because you stopped caring. You began stepping back because caring without reassurance was slowly emptying you. Your soulmate felt that change. At first, they told themselves you were only tired. They believed you would return to the way you had always been. They thought your silence was temporary, your distance harmless, your guarded heart only a passing mood. They did not understand that every unanswered feeling was teaching you how to live without the answer. But tonight, they understand. Something happened within them when they imagined you finally reaching peace without them. That thought did not bring relief. It shook them. They suddenly saw a future in which you no longer checked for their name, no longer wondered what they were feeling, no longer carried a hidden hope that they might return with truth in their hands. And that future felt more painful than anything they had prepared themselves to face. Do not skip what comes next, because this is where the hidden story begins to open. Your soulmate has not been silent because they feel nothing. Their silence has been crowded with too much feeling. They have replayed conversations that ended too soon. They have remembered the softness in your voice before uncertainty entered it. They have noticed the difference between the way you once reached for them and the way you now protect yourself from expecting too much. They have seen the cost of their hesitation. There was a moment when they had the chance to speak honestly, but fear interrupted them. They almost told you how deeply your presence had changed them. They almost admitted that no one else had awakened the same recognition in their soul. They almost confessed that losing contact with you had not made their feelings disappear, it had made those feelings louder. But they remained quiet. They believed silence could protect them from rejection. They did not realize silence could create the very loss they feared. My child, some people do not recognize the importance of a door until they hear it beginning to close. Your soulmate heard that sound inside their spirit tonight. Not a physical door, but the quiet closing of your patience. The gentle withdrawal of your emotional energy. The sacred moment when a heart stops begging to be chosen and begins choosing itself. Something huge is waiting for you in this message, because there is one truth they have finally admitted to themselves. They did not lose you the first time because you disappeared. They lost you the first time because they failed to meet you where your heart was standing. You were present, but they were guarded. You were sincere, but they questioned what was real. You offered understanding, but they kept parts of themselves hidden. You waited for honesty, while they waited for certainty that could never arrive without honesty. That was the first loss. It happened quietly. There was no dramatic ending. No single moment that explained everything. It was a series of small absences. A message not sent. A truth not spoken. A promise felt but never voiced. A tenderness interrupted by doubt. A connection treated as though it would wait forever. And still, some part of you remained. That remaining part is what they are afraid of losing now. They can sense that you are standing at the edge of an inner decision. You may not have announced it. You may not even realize how close you are to making it. But your spirit is tired of living between hope and disappointment. You are beginning to understand that love should not require you to abandon your peace. Your soulmate senses this awakening in you. That is why their soul is calling so urgently tonight. Please read this before you fall asleep. Because they fear that when you wake, something within you may be different. They fear you will rise with a new strength, one that no longer waits for uncertain hands. They fear tonight may be the final night when your heart still leaves a small space for them. And they do not know how to tell you that they are finally ready to enter that space with truth. Stay until the end, because the revelation approaching is not what you expect. For a long time, your soulmate believed that admitting their feelings would make them weak. They had learned to hide longing behind control. They had learned to act unaffected when their heart was anything but calm. They thought love was safer when it remained unspoken, because unspoken love could not be refused. But unspoken love can still be lost. Tonight, they finally saw that clearly. A small memory opened the door. It may have been a song, a familiar phrase, a photograph, a place, or an ordinary moment that suddenly carried your presence. Whatever caused it, the effect was immediate. They were taken back to a time when your connection felt close enough to touch. They remembered something you said that they had not fully understood then. Now they understand every word. You may have told them, directly or indirectly, that you did not need perfection. You only needed truth. You did not ask them to know every answer. You only needed them to stop making you guess where you stood. You did not demand grand promises. You wanted consistency, sincerity, and the courage to remain present. They see now how simple your heart's request truly was. And they see how fear made them complicate it. There is regret in them tonight, but heaven is not revealing this to make you responsible for healing it. Listen carefully. You are not being asked to rescue anyone from the consequences of their silence. You are not being commanded to reopen a door that harmed your peace. This message is not telling you to ignore your wisdom. It is revealing what has changed behind the silence. Your soulmate is no longer only afraid of being vulnerable. They are afraid of becoming the person who allowed something sacred to disappear because they could not speak. That fear has brought them to a threshold. They are rehearsing words they once believed they would never say. They are imagining how you might respond. They are wondering whether your heart will recognize their sincerity or remember only the pain of their delay. They are searching for a way to reach you without making another mistake. But beneath every complicated thought is one simple confession. I still feel you. They feel you in the spaces where distraction no longer works. They feel you when the noise ends. They feel you when evening becomes quiet and there is nothing left to hide behind. They feel the difference between your energy and every temporary connection they once used to avoid facing the truth. No one replaced what your soul awakened. Do not mistake this for a perfect ending arriving without effort. Something more important is being revealed. Your soulmate has begun to understand that love is not proven by intensity alone. It is proven by courage, responsibility, consistency, and the willingness to repair what fear damaged. That realization is new. Before, they wanted the connection without fully facing what it required. They wanted your understanding while avoiding difficult conversations. They wanted your presence without exposing the vulnerable places inside them. They wanted to believe you would somehow know what they could not say. Now they know that love cannot live forever on assumptions. They must speak. They must explain. They must tell you why they pulled away when they wanted to come closer. They must tell you why they acted uncertain when their feelings were powerful. They must tell you what happened inside them when they realized you were no longer waiting in the same way. And there is one detail they have kept hidden even from themselves. The first time they believed they lost you, something in their life shifted afterward. They tried to continue as though nothing had changed. They smiled when expected. They handled responsibilities. They moved through ordinary days. But beneath the surface, they compared every moment of emotional connection to what they had felt with you. The comparison was never fair. You had reached a part of them others could not see. You noticed what they concealed. You understood their silences. You sensed when their words did not match their emotions. At times, this frightened them. Being seen so deeply can feel like love to a healed heart, but to a guarded heart, it can feel like danger. So they stepped back from the very person who understood them. They called it caution. They called it timing. They called it confusion. But tonight, they call it what it was. Fear. The truth is becoming sharper now. Do not look away. They were not only afraid you might reject them. They were afraid you might accept them completely. Because acceptance would leave them without excuses. It would ask them to become honest. It would require them to stop hiding behind old wounds, old habits, and old stories about why closeness never lasts. Your love represented a new beginning, but new beginnings require old defenses to end. They were not ready then. They believe they may be ready now. That is why the words feel so urgent. I cannot lose you twice. The second loss would be different. The first was caused by fear and misunderstanding. The second would happen with full awareness. They now know what you mean to them. They know what your absence feels like. They know how rare it is to be understood without having to perform. To lose you again after knowing all of this would not feel like bad timing. It would feel like a choice they could never forgive themselves for making. My child, breathe slowly, because the next layer concerns you. You have changed too. You are not the same person who once waited endlessly for signs. You have learned that intuition must walk beside discernment. You have learned that strong feelings are not enough when actions remain weak. You have learned that compassion does not require self-abandonment. This growth is not pushing love away. It is preparing you to recognize love in its honest form. Whether this person returns through words, actions, or a truth you did not expect, you will not meet them as the version of yourself they once knew. You will meet them with clearer eyes. You will listen not only to what they promise, but to what they are prepared to practice. Heaven is protecting your heart by strengthening your wisdom. Your soulmate can feel that strength from a distance. It is part of what awakened them. They know they cannot return with vague emotion. They know they cannot offer half-truths and expect full trust. They know the door, if it opens, will not open because of beautiful words alone. It will open only if their actions carry the same sincerity as their confession. And something inside them is preparing to prove it. Stay with me, because this is where the message takes an unexpected turn. Your soulmate may have recently said something about you to another person. Not a casual mention. Not an ordinary memory. They opened a part of the truth they had hidden. They admitted that there is someone they cannot forget. Someone whose absence still feels present. Someone they may have hurt without intending to, simply because they did not know how to hold something so real. The person listening asked them a question they could not escape. If you know what they mean to you, why are you still silent? That question followed them into the night. They tried to answer with practical reasons. They spoke of timing, distance, uncertainty, complications, and fear of making things worse. But each explanation sounded weaker than the one before it. Finally, the truth became unavoidable. They were waiting for a guarantee. A guarantee that you still cared. A guarantee that you would respond. A guarantee that their vulnerability would not be met with silence. But love does not always offer guarantees before courage. Sometimes courage must move first. That is what they are learning tonight. They may be closer to reaching out than you realize. But before that happens, there is an inner battle unfolding. One voice tells them it is too late. Another tells them that silence has already cost too much. One voice says you have moved on. Another reminds them that truth deserves to be spoken even when the outcome is uncertain. Their soul is standing between those voices. Heaven is pressing them toward honesty, not because every story must end in reunion, but because every sacred connection deserves truth. You deserve truth. They deserve the chance to stop hiding from it. And tonight, the pressure of everything unsaid is becoming impossible to carry. They are remembering the moment they first recognized something unusual in you. It was not necessarily your appearance, your voice, or anything visible. It was a feeling of familiarity. A strange peace mixed with intensity. As though their soul recognized you before their mind could explain why. They tried to dismiss it. They told themselves it was imagination. They questioned the timing. They looked for reasons to reduce the connection into something ordinary. But the harder they tried to make it ordinary, the more extraordinary it felt. That frightened them. Because if the connection was real, then losing it would matter. And they were already carrying old memories of loss. Here is the hidden wound beneath their silence. Before you, they learned that closeness could disappear without warning. They learned to expect disappointment before joy had time to settle. They learned that opening the heart could become an invitation to pain. So when you arrived with sincerity, part of them wanted to run toward you, while another part prepared to run away. You experienced the conflict without knowing its origin. One day they felt close. The next, distant. One moment their energy spoke clearly. The next, their words seemed uncertain. You wondered whether you had misunderstood everything. You had not misunderstood the connection. You were feeling their battle. But understanding the reason does not erase the effect. Their fear still wounded you. Their confusion still created confusion in you. Their silence still made you question your worth, even though their inability to speak was never a measure of your value. Heaven wants you to know this clearly tonight. You were never difficult to love. You were difficult to deceive because your soul could feel the truth beneath appearances. They knew you could sense them. They knew you noticed the way their eyes, energy, or presence changed around you. They knew you could feel when they were holding something back. Your awareness made hiding harder, so they created distance. But distance did not remove the truth. It only made the truth echo. Now, in the stillness before sleep, the echo has become a voice. Please read this before you fall asleep. I cannot lose you twice. There is more behind that sentence. What they truly mean is, I cannot watch you become a memory while knowing I had the chance to choose you. I cannot pretend I am unaffected while your absence changes the atmosphere of my life. I cannot keep hoping you will understand words I never had the courage to say. I cannot ask destiny for another chance while repeating the same silence that ruined the first one. These are the confessions moving through them. But there is one confession deeper than all the rest. They have realized that they did not only miss you. They missed who they were becoming when you were near. You awakened a more honest version of them. A softer version. A version willing to imagine a future beyond survival and emotional distance. Around you, they briefly saw who they could be if fear no longer made every decision. When you stepped back, that version of them seemed to disappear too. Now they want it back. But they know they cannot reclaim that part of themselves by simply reclaiming your attention. They must choose growth. They must confront the habits that made them withdraw. They must stop expecting you to carry the emotional weight of both hearts. This is the beginning of their awakening.